good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name's Leanne Hart, and today I'm going to be presenting a little bit on the air element. So as you can see, where I'm located actually is, where we live is in southern Ontario, which is in Canada, very close to the US border near Buffalo. And our season right now is the season of fall. So I thought it would be appropriate to sort of come back into the forest. You know, fall is a really great representation of the air element. So the air element, and yesterday you probably watched a video from Kim on the ether element. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about air and what air is in Ayurveda. So the air element again sort of comes from the very first element of ether. And when we combine ether and space or air, what we get is vata. Vata, the vata dosha. It's also sometimes referred to as the vayu, and vayu simply means wind. Right now, actually, the winds have just started to pick up a little bit, so you might hear a little bit in the background. You might see some of my dogs running through the forest. So in Ayurveda and in yoga, there are 5 vayus, or 5 wind elements. The very first one is, and it's also referred to as prana. So prana isn't confused with air. It's not sort of to be confused with breath, and it's sort of the life force. It's sort of what makes me, me, and it's what pushes the air into what we breathe to give us life. There's 5 different vayus, 5 different winds that are found within the body. And so if you just sort of close your eyes, I'll talk us through so that you can experience what these wind elements feel like within the body. First one is that vayu, that wind coming in through the nose down into the lungs, right? That you feel that expansion. It gives us our life force. Like I said, without the breath, we wouldn't be here. And then we have another type of wind that travels upwards. So it travels, again, from the upper regions of the body up towards the head. And so that also gives us our ability to think. You know, our thinking isn't just sort of one direction. But then if it's too much air going up to the head, you know, we've all heard of the term airhead, and not meant in a derogatory sense, but just that if you think of air within the head, you know, what does that create? It creates the inability to focus, maybe scattered thoughts, maybe we can't go through with our goals, and too much air can then lead to worry, to anxiety, to fear, and then depression. Then we have another air that moves downwards. So it moves downwards into the digestive system. And if you correlate or you think of the digestive system similar to like if you have laundry and you put a whole bunch of dirty laundry in your washing machine and you compact it, there's no room for it to spin. So when those clothes come out, they're really not as clean as if you gave them space and there was air, and because air, when there's space in between things, then again it gives us the ability for movement. And then the next one is coming downward. So thinking of the air element coming from almost from the belly down towards the feet, down into the ground, and that helps us with stability. It helps us feel rooted. And then the very last one, which I think for a lot of people, especially during COVID, especially if you're in the caretaking industry at all, or you're a caretaker yourself, is our inability to have boundaries around ourselves, where our energy just splays out, you know, and we go in all directions, and then we find that we have no energy, no amount of prana left at the end of the day. So that's 5 different ways that prana can move within the body. So again, it moves inward, it moves upward, it circulates, it moves outward to the periphery, and then downward. The air element in Ayurveda, you know, if I just sort of look around, so here's a you know, sort of a red maple leaf. And then some that are a little bit more decayed. And then there's also some that are, you know, a little bit more yellow. So if we think of the air element as drying, the qualities, right? That's drying and rough. When air moves over something, right, it dries this, maybe into this. So if we have too much air element within the body, that movement of air again over the skin can cause drying on the inside as well, on the outside of the skin as well as on the inside. When there's air and it's drying, you know, what happens, again, if I think of this, and you can sort of hear that crinkliness, is just, it dries things out, it takes the moisture out. So then when there's no moisture in here, you know, the density of a leaf that has moisture in it and one that doesn't, there is a little bit of a difference. So this, you know, I crumble it and it just sort of flies everywhere. So similarly, air has the same qualities as the fall. It's light, it's mobile, it's erratic, it's drying, and it's cooling. And then if you're in a different hemisphere, say you're coming into spring, you know, the qualities of spring, you're coming from into your kapha season from that combination of winter. So you've got a little bit more earth, you've got a little bit more water. And if I just move, you know, some of the leaves that rained last night, the ground beneath me, below these leaves, is quite full of muck. And so what happens for people who are coming into the springtime is you need a little bit more of those lighter elements to bring into your day, or to bring into your foods, or into your daily routines, in order to get you moving and not get stuck in that mud. Similarly to, you know, a lotus. A lotus grows up and out of the muck. And so we have this rootedness, this stability, but we also need the lightness in order for it to grow up and out. The air element is found obviously in the air, and it can be a really hard transition time for a lot of people, especially coming from the summer going into the winter. There's a lot of people who suffer from different depressive issues because the light, you know, dissipates. It gets cooler, then it gets colder. So the air element, in Ayurveda, whenever we want to bring things into balance, what we're looking at is doing the exact opposite, bringing in the exact opposite quality. So to simplify, especially if you're not that familiar with Ayurveda, we're going to just look at two concepts, and I think Tim has talked about these as well, is that concept of Umana and Lungana, which in Ayurveda just means simply the concepts of lightening. So do you need to bring more air to lighten things up, or do you need to bring more grounding things in, more stability? When we talk about lightness to food, if you think of two teas, one is just a clear ginger tea, and then your other tea maybe is a chai, a golden chai, with lots of warming spices. So even just looking at the qualities of these, you'll notice that one is quite clear, and a little bit lighter in flavor, maybe a little bit lighter in taste, a little bit lighter on our digestion. And the other one is going to bring in a little bit more of those warming, stable qualities. So if I was in my springtime, going into my springtime, and I would want more air, I'd want more of those lightness. So if you look around in spring, even here actually at our fields, you know, the soybeans have just been cut, and now the farmers have planted winter wheat. So if I look at the fields, now you'll see, it looks like spring, right? The grass shoots are 3 or 4 inches up off the ground, and then they're going to just sort of hibernate as we go through the winter, and then they will grow again in the spring. And so in the spring, we're looking at lightening everything up. We're looking at having lighter foods, lighter things, lighter shoots. Think of all the vegetables that grow in the springtime as opposed to the fall time. So the spring vegetables, again, are light. They're usually bitter, they could be astringent. And then coming into the fall, I don't want to have those vegetables. I'm looking at more like the root vegetables. So harvest is a perfect time to look at those elements. So from here, what we're going to do is just a little bit of yoga. And again, we're going to use those two qualities of lightening bringing lightness into the body or heaviness. And so up to you, I'll give you two choices to choose either A or B. We're going to start first just with two different pranayamas. And again, one is going to bring a little bit more lightness within the body. And then the second one is going to bring a little bit of grounding. So up to you which one you choose. The first one for lightening the body, it's also going to bring a little bit of heat though, is Kapalabhati breathing. And many of you might be familiar with this through your yoga class. It's a very quick inhale, exhale through the nose. And the concentration is on the exhale. So the inhale will automatically come in. So as you exhale, you forcefully pull the belly in towards the stomach. You forcefully pull the belly in towards the stomach. So it sort of sounds like, so there's a real force of air coming out the nose. Now this is going to bring a little bit of lightening. You'll feel that within the head itself. And then for those people who need a little bit more grounding, we're going to do Nadi Shodhana. But we're not going to use the hands, we're going to just use the mind. So with the air element, especially because it's really closely correlated with the mind, if my mind was really scattered and I want to do a breathing practice, I could breathe, but chances are my mind's going to be doing the grocery list, or my mind's going to be on whatever next I need to do. So one really helpful thing to do is to give the mind something to concentrate on. So that could be the breath, or it could also be a bit of a visualization. So we're going to, for the Nadi Shodhana, instead of using the fingers, we're going to just use the mind's eye to concentrate on that feeling of air coming up and in the left nostril. Retain the breath for a count, and then you'll exhale out the right. Then you're going to retain for a count. You're going to retain for a count. You're going to inhale through the right, retain, and then exhale through the left. So it's just a very simple inhale, retain, exhale, retain, inhale, retain, exhale, retain. And that's considered one round. So either Kapalabhati or Nadi Shodhana, and we're going to just do a couple rounds of that. So whichever one that you decide or choose to do is good. And then as you continue to breathe on your own, you determine how that's making you feel. So if you're getting too much lightness in the head, then you're going to stop and maybe change up your breathing to Nadi Shodhana. And if you find that you're getting too relaxed, you maybe want to have a bit of a nap, then you're going to change up to Kapalabhati to bring that energy in. Good. And then the second pranayama that we're going to do, and this is also in your manual, it's called Pranaloma Pranaloma Pranayama. And this is specific for strengthening up of the diaphragm. Sorry, all the birds are coming in. Of the diaphragm, as well as the lungs. And so again, it's a very simple breath. With our index and middle finger, we're going to just close off below the cartilage of the nose on either side, but only about 40%. So as you're inhaling, you should feel that drawing in of the breath coming in and up. And then as you exhale, you're going to release and let the air flow out. So again, when we breathe, we have all these respiratory muscles, and they are muscles. So if we're not using the full capacity of our lungs, our intercostal muscles, our diaphragm, those muscles are going to get weak. So going into winter with cold, flu, COVID, those going into spring with sinusitis and hay fever, spring allergies, the breathing is a really great component that you can do free of charge to improve your breathing and your health. So again, pranaloma, we're going to occlude the nostrils 40 to 50%. Inhale, really slow, deep drawing in, so right from the root of the body up. And when you feel that your lung capacity has been reached, you're going to release, and we're going to slowly let the air exhale out. We're going to do that 3 more times. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling. Good, and exhaling. So if you were looking at doing this type of breathing to strengthen the lungs, you would want to do it maybe 3 times a day and work up from a sequence of 5 to 10. So in essence, you'd be doing this type of breathing 30 times in your day in 3 increments of 10. From here, we're going to come just to the back of either the back or the front of your mat. And the yoga that we're going to do, it's called a Tibetan sun salutation, very similar to a regular sun salutation, except we do this just from the ground. And this is more about sort of giving thanks. And we're going to be using 2 different mudras within the hands. And again, this is, in air, some of the concept is that air allows us to let go of things. So the Lotus Mudra or Padme Mudra, the baby fingers and the thumbs come together and we open them up just like a chalice or a lotus flower. And I'd like you just sort of to gaze in. And again, this is either for what you need to receive or what you need to let go. And as we inhale, we bring the hands up. And then as we exhale, we're going to bring the hands coming all the way back down, coming back down into prayer. And then we do what's called a prayer wheel. So we open the palms towards us, and then we roll through the knuckles. The knuckles turn, hands come all the way back down, and then hands come back together into prayer. So those 2 mudras, lotus, prayer wheel, is just the rolling down of the hands, coming back into prayer. So we're going to start with this just at the, either at the front or the back of your mat. Sitting in hero's pose, and if this pose is no good for your knees, you can put something underneath the thighs to bring yourself up. So we're going to come up onto the knees, again coming into that lotus mudra. And for yourself, for today, what is it that you need? Do you need to release? Or do you lighten things up, or do you need to bring stability into the body? So again, very slowly bringing the arms up. Exhale, bringing the hands back down, opening the palms up to our prayer wheel. Slowly rotating through the hands. And then from here, we're going to bring the hands down, extend them forward, and then bring just the forehead down to the ground. So it's forehead to mat pose. From there, we pull the hands back into tabletop, which is neutral. Then from that into our cow, looking forward. Rounding into cat. Curling the toes under and lifting up and back into downward dog. Then downward dog onto the knees. Hips back towards the hips into child's pose. Where we come back up on the knees and bring our hands back together into prayer. We're going to do this just a couple more times. Again, coming up on the knees, opening up the palms, inhaling, and exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Up on the knees, back into our starting position. Again, inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, and exhaling. We'll finish up one last one. I'm going to let you do this just on your own. And then from there, we're going to just finish off with a very short meditation. And again, it's sort of about feeling the air element within the body. So I'd like you to sit or lay down in a position that feels comfortable for you. I'd like you to get yourself comfortable. I'll hold him so he doesn't run around on the leaves. I'd like you to get comfortable. And then just check in with your breath, which means notice if your breath is smooth, if your breath is long, if your breath is gentle, and if your breath is deep. We're going to open our palms to the side, so palms facing up. And we're going to bring our attention to our heart and the space around the heart, the flow of air around the heart, and the color of the heart. So as you're inhaling, I would like you to imagine the energetic heart expanding. And as we exhale, contracting. And we're going to change the color of this heart now to an energetic ball. So as we inhale, we're going to imagine that ball rolling from the heart to the tip of the right shoulder, down the arm, landing in the palm of the right hand. And as we exhale, that ball will roll back up from the palm of the hand, up the arm, to rest at the heart. On your next inhale, the ball will roll to the tip of the left shoulder, down the inner arm to rest in the palm of the left hand. And as we exhale, it will roll back up from the palm, up the center of the arm to rest back at the heart. So simply following that visualization, inhaling to the right, exhaling, meeting back at the heart, inhaling to the left, exhaling back to the heart, inhaling to the right, exhaling back to the heart, inhaling to the left, exhaling back to the heart. This time as we inhale, again, this ball will come from the heart to rest in the right palm, and then we're going to flip it up and over the head, arch it over the body to land in the left palm, where it will make its travels from the left palm back to the heart. So inhaling from the heart to the right palm, retaining as we flip that ball up and over and catch it in the left palm. Exhaling from the left palm to the heart. 2 more times on your own. And when you're ready, just bringing your palms together into prayer, rubbing the hands to create a little bit of heat. Bring the hands over the eyes, cradling the face, throat, hands to rest back on the heart. Hope going forward you have a wonderful day, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow in which you'll be learning a little bit more about the fire element.
Namaste.